Okay, this is the second video. I'm going to show you how to draw the cherries. See how light I'm doing this? Very light, right? Slant a little bit. This way, not too much. Then this is right here. Very light, right? Because I don't need to draw it too dark. I know sometimes you try it several times, you can't do it right, you get frustrated, and then you start to push it. Yep. But you don't need to push that hard. I can still fixing it, see? It's not right yet, right? But if I draw light, I have room to fix it. And until I get the shape I really like, then I can stop. So you can still fixing it, get it rounder and rounder actually. Okay, now, excuse me, the shape is about right. I indicated the highlight here. Round is here. Stop it on the left. Another right here. The shape of the highlight. Okay, here. Now, where I'm going to start this. Remember I said? From the darkest part, right? Which is here. Also has a shape, which goes like this, right? Then, you know you are shading a sphere, right? So you're not going to shade like no gradients, right? So you know you're doing a sphere, and you can tell that's darker than that, right? So you start from here. Did you see I didn't push super hard? Because when I'm doing the first layer, I'm still trying to get the shape right too, you know, because it has a shape. And here's darker a little bit. Has a shape. I try to get the shape right. Just like when you're drawing this, you don't want to draw it beginning like that because you might need to fix it. It might not right. That's why you start like this. And it's not right, you can keep fixing it, right? Same thing as when I shade. Right now, my goal is, because since every part is still light, that's the darkest. Remember this? I told you? Everything is light number one, right? That's the darkest. So now after this, where I'm looking the next darkest, which is here. Also, gradients. Remember you are shading a sphere. Right now my eye is keep looking at the cherry. Keep looking at it. I'm drawing the same time, I keep looking at it. See how I did this part? I did not do a very sharp edge here. Look, which gonna look like this. Why? Because it's a sphere. The value always changes. Gradients, they're faded to the other side. Even here, it's not a sharp line, it's faded, right? After that part, okay, now where I'm shade, okay, now here's a light, here's a dark, so I'm shade everything together. So that's still darker than here, right? And after that, excuse me, I'm going to shade a little bit on the top, that part, but I make sure I'm going to be lighter than the bottom. You don't want to put a dark strip there because that's lighter than here, right? Just try to get the shape right now. Try to get the shape right before I darken it. Then here is a light, right? Here's a light. And make sure that's lighter than that. Then here is a little bit darker part here because it went in, right? The dent. Okay, now this first cherry is done. And I can still like work on this, but I can leave this like this and work on this cherry, then go back for that. So this cherry, same thing. Let's see where the darkest part. It's kind of right here. So, but it has a shape too. That's the, you know, what I'm talking about, the edge of the table. So gradients, right now, just try to get the shape. Here's darker than here, right? So I'm darken this part again. Then here's the reflection, lighter than this, but darker than the top. So the edge is not the darkest spot. This part is the darkest spot. Here is a casting shadow from the other cherry, but going gradients, don't make a dark spot on there. Okay, then I'm making sure the core shadow come from here. Core shadow shape this from here. I'm going this way, and this from here, this from here, going this way. Okay, casting shadow, casting shadow. Okay, now it's kind of the first layer. I'm just indicated what's the shape of the core shadow, right? What the shape of all the shadow. Now I'm going to do the second layer. I'm going to get this part darker because I already knew I'm going to change a pencil. Actually, you get 5B to really get it darker. So here's a highlight. I cannot ignore it. But if you want, you can leave that white, or you can kind of erase it later maybe. So make sure that the side is light because it's a reflection. If you get it dark, it's okay, you can erase it. And this part actually pretty dark, then go light. That's the reflection. Going back and forth, see? See how I shade? It's like layers it, overlapping it. I didn't push like that, right? I don't want push because I wanted to shade and look if the value is dark enough. If not, I put another layer on top. And also I'm using a 5B, which is pretty dark. If I'm making that part too dark, I can go back to here and make that part darker, right? Now when I make that part darker, I felt like my reflection is too light, and then I go back to the reflection again. Now I'm going to use a lighter pencil for the lighter side here. That's a lighter pencil. And here is the other side of the cherry. That's a stem. Make sure the stem is a cylinder later. Here is a little bit value here. Not too dark. There's a little dark parts there. That's, see, this probably is a reflect to this. See, that's, everything is for a reason. I'm telling you, like, that's why that's dark, because of the stem's reflection on the cherry. So when you're doing this, you kind of have to think and figure out, okay, why that has that. Then you know how to do it. Okay, now still not dark enough. Still shading that. I feel like the highlight shape is wrong. Okay, still shading that. Take a long time to get it dark, I guess. You might use a 5B. Now, the value of the casting shadow is darker than this, but lighter than that. See how I faded the side of it? You don't want to make it, because they are faded. They're not sharp. Casting shadow, lots of time is faded. I feel like still need a darker, because the cherry itself has a color, right? It has a, like a red, dark red skin. So that's, they have a tone. So I needed to get that, and that part is a little darker, that part, but not in the edge. The edge kind of a little lighter than that. See the reflection? You squint your eyes, look at it, it's very faded. So it's not like they have a white thing on the bottom, no. This part a little bit detailed. Back to the casting shadow again now. Going to make that part a little bit darker, but watch out the value. If you want, you can get that reflection there. Oh, that's kind of one cherry done. If you think it's not round enough, now you can fix the shape a little bit. Here's the darker side of the stamp. Turn around, get light. Then here's the lighter part of the stamp. If you look, it's there. This is a cylinder, right? Blurry, even a little bit shadow here. Casting shadow here. Okay, now this cherry, I'm going to start with the dark part too. Gradients from dark to light. This cherry is lighter than the other one, so to use a lighter beads, lighter pencil. Here's darker because the casting shadow I told you from the other cherry. Then here's a table. When up is a table. Now this casting shadow seems darker because this cherry is lighter than the other cherry. But the casting shadow is the same value. Alright, since I get darken the casting shadow, if I compare the value, I kind of know how dark I'm going to go for the cherry, right? Need to be darker now. Highlight should be higher. Getting the right part dark. It's in the shadow. Even as a reflection, but still not that dark, right? That's the darkest part in the here's dark because that casting shadow from there. Get this part a little darker. Ta-da! I think that's about it, right? a final touch if you want. Oh, here's a little reflection here. Can you erase that part a little bit? Okay, here's a cherry. If you have time, I want you to practice again. It's final touch. See if I can see more stuff to fix. This cherry is way darker than that. Because I think because the color of the cherry itself. Okay, let me get this part a little bit darker because that's darker than that. See, that's how value works. You just have to compare it. All right.